Garry says Colby Covington ignoring fight proposal. Garry recently claimed that the UFC has offered him a fight against Colby Covington. However, he noted that the potential matchup is only halfway to becoming a reality. Garry and Covington have been caught up in a heated feud for nearly a year, with both fighters repeatedly expressing their eagerness to settle their differences in the octagon. Notably, the Irishman has been actively seeking this matchup. Garry recently posted an Instagram video where he revealed that he agreed to a fight with Covington a month ago, but he has yet to receive any word from Colby. What's up, everyone? So I'm coming on to let everybody know, keep everybody in the loop, and keep everyone updated because it matters. A month ago, I was offered a fight with Colby Covington. It took me all of 20 seconds to respond to the email saying, yes, I'm in. A month later, we still have no response from Colby. He's avoiding me, and there's one reason and one reason only this fight isn't happening, and his name is Colby Covington. According to recent media reports, UFC matchmakers want to make Garry and Covington the headliners for the Fight Night event, which takes place on December 14th. However, with less than 2 months remaining, there has yet to be any official confirmation. Garry is fresh off a unanimous decision victory over Michael Page at UFC 303 in June. He remains undefeated in his professional career, with an impressive 8-fight winning streak in the UFC. Robert Whittaker says Khamzat Chimaev isn't his toughest opponent, but is the most pressing. When it comes to fighters that have been put through the ringer at the very highest level, it's hard to find someone that is more experienced than Robert Whittaker. With 22 octagon appearances under his belt, there's not much that you can throw at Robert which he won't have encountered in the past. That being said, his next challenge is somewhat of an enigma. The undefeated Khamzat Chimaev has gone from being talked about as a guaranteed future UFC champion to someone that might struggle against the top names in his division. His progress has been significantly halted by 2 major concerns: his reoccurring health issues and an inability to fight in the United States. We will truly find out how good Chimaev is when he faces Whittaker, who has already proven his level against the majority of the top contenders to come through the division in the last 7 years. In an interview with TalkSport MMA, ahead of their co-main event clash at UFC 308, Whittaker was asked whether Chimaev is his toughest fight to date, after all of the top opposition that he has squared off with. No, like I've fought the best of the best. I think it's the most pressing test, because it's unwritten, and I think there's a lot of gravity to this fight, because it's the unknown, like as of right now, but like, I've won a lot of hard fights, and I've lost a lot of hard fights. I've been tested. Right now, it's obviously Chimaev, right, because it's unknown. It's ground that hasn't been trodden yet. I respect the task at hand, and I'm just looking forward to it. Strickland included by Bellator champion and self-proclaimed best middleweights in the world duo. A Bellator champion recently made a bold claim about the best middleweight fighters in the sport, stating that he and Strickland are at the top. There is plenty of debate as to how champions and contenders match up against their counterparts in the MMA leader, but it's important to note that several of them train together. Since becoming Bellator middleweight champion, Johnny Eblen has received plenty of praise from fans, media members, and fellow fighters. During his pre-fight media availability ahead of this Saturday's PFL, the reigning Bellator middleweight champion answered who he considers as the top middleweight in MMA. Eblen named himself and Strickland and mentioned that he has witnessed the former UFC champion's work ethic and skills when training with him. I'm going to have to go with my boy Strickland. I think we're truly the best middleweights in the world. The fact that I get to train with him and we happen to be in different promotions right now is kind of cool. And that we get to train together, and also we're both making good money. So that's the best middleweight, I could say. Francis Ngannou teases surprise finish and MMA return. In his return to mixed martial arts this weekend, former UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou could be set to show new wrinkles in his game. After departing MMA's leading promotion and completing 2 bouts in the ring opposite boxing stars Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, Ngannou will put his sights back on the sport in which he made his name to make a long-awaited PFL debut. The Cameroonian is slated to headline the upcoming pay-per-view in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia against 2023 PFL heavyweight champ Renan Ferreira. Given the Brazilian's penchant for knockouts, which is more than shared by the Predator, most are expecting Ngannou's return to the cage to conclude with a knockout. But during an appearance on Monday's episode of the Ariel Helwani show on Uncrowned, the ex-UFC champ suggested that is far from certain, with both a decision and a surprise submission on the table. He moves a lot, and he has good grappling. I mean, he is a black belt. Unless the fight goes longer. If the fight goes past 2 rounds, I think it's likely going to end up being a decision. Otherwise, if it stays inside 2 rounds, I think it's a knockout or why not a submission. You know, I'm not a black belt, but I'm not bad too. I've been working on some little tricks. Max Holloway confident he'll make 145 pounds for UFC 308 title fight. Max Holloway says there should be no concern surrounding his move back down to featherweight ahead of UFC 308. Holloway challenges 145-pound champion Ilia Topuria in the UFC 308. Holloway is coming off a last-second knockout of Justin Gaethje at UFC 300 in a lightweight bout to claim the BMF title. It was Holloway's second crack at 155 pounds in the UFC, but this time, he went through a proper process of building into the necessary frame. Everybody keeps talking about the weight coming into this fight. The whole question before the last fight was the weight, and now the whole question about this fight is the weight because of what we did in the last fight. But it is what it is. I got the best person behind me. I got my wife, she's chefing it up, and I got my man Tyler Minton back on the team. He's going to be out there with us fight week, and he's one of the best guys in the biz. I've never missed weight. I've never missed no weight in my whole career, and I ain't planning on starting to miss weight for this fight, because this fight, it took a whole lot of work to get back here. People said that I shouldn't be here, that I should have done something else. I should focus on something else. I'm done. I'm past what I can do in this sport. But then again, we're here, and we're fighting for a world title against this new generation that they're talking about. Arman Tsarukyan believes UFC champ Islam Makhachev is beatable, unlike prime Khabib Nurmagomedov. Following his last title defense at UFC 302, some fans and even fighters have claimed that the champ has overtaken his mentor in terms of legacy. With 3 back-to-back title defenses against top opponents, the UFC lightweight champion is on a tear right now. Besides, his last fight against Dustin Poirier was a reminder of his toughness and how much his game has developed over the years. However, the #1 contender Arman Tsarukyan still believes he can beat the champion. He states that Makhachev has not reached the level of the Eagle yet. Islam is really good everywhere, but it's not that there's an aspect where you can't outsmart him. Unlike prime Khabib, he was too good at wrestling that it would have been really hard to beat him in that area. Arman sees wrestling as the difference maker. According to him, the Eagle's wrestling was unlike anything ever seen in the UFC before, utterly dominant in every possible way. Alexander Volkanovski opens up on potential opponents for newly announced UFC 312 in Sydney. Alexander Volkanovski's next fight will be at UFC 312 on February 9th in Sydney. Moreover, Volkanovski revealed that his bout will be for the undisputed featherweight championship, which is currently set to be defended by Ilia Topuria against Max Holloway. Volkanovski claims he was promised an immediate title shot following his crushing loss to Topuria at UFC 298, which cost him his 145-pound belt. Now, he seems primed to face the winner of the upcoming Topuria versus Holloway matchup. I plan on doing my part to bring the biggest fight here, fighting for the title. That is what is pretty much promised to me, and February looks like the perfect date for that. I'll be facing the winner out of Ilia and Max. Quite positively, I can guarantee that. Despite asserting that he will fight for the undisputed title next, Volkanovski is also open to an interim featherweight title bout with streaking Brazilian finisher Diego Lopes, if anything were to derail a bout with the UFC 308 main event winner. You got injuries that could get in the way, other divisions for Max, so that could mean maybe an interim title fight, which is fine. Again, anything with gold with it, I'll be happy, so that'll just lock me in for whoever it is that wins that anyway. So even if it's interim, that's still a big one. I'd say it'd be an exciting one with Diego Lopes.